The Madswimmer team had less than 3 hours sleep. They expected the small boats taking them to the Little Diomede to be ready and waiting. A tense period. There was no wind, the water flat, but that can change very quickly.
At one point in time I was really convinced we were never going to get a boat.
We had quite a big urgency on ourselves actually just getting there, and it was quite stressful. You know, we up to literally 6 o'clock to 6:30, we weren't certain if all the boats were going to be here. Apparently there was some walrus hunt going on the night before. Some of the guys had gone out and were a bit tired.
What seems like in South Africa a very simple exercise, which is just really to get petrol in a boat motor and get the boat here. It didn't seem like it was going to happen. We also were woken up at sort of 3 o'clock in the morning so that the boats were coming.
It is a 2-hour boat ride to Little Diomede on the North American side of the international date line.
It was quite a big relief having the boats all here. If you look at this whole adventure, a lot of it was about getting actually to the island where we could go and swim. It's, as you know, it's quite a long way from home. So when we got on the boats, I was very much relieved, well, partially relieved, and still quite apprehensive.
To wake up and get in those little boats, which are essentially rowing boats with engines, and cruise 40 kilometers on the Bering Sea out to the Diomede Islands.
So here in the Bering Strait, which is probably the roughest sea in the world, to walk out onto the beach and see 3 boats, all with 1 motor on, and then finally there was a 4th boat that had 2 little motors on, was quite intriguing. The boat ride started sort of nervously. The cold air on the boat ride was as cold as expected. My hands and feet were freezing. The spray sort of makes you wet.
I've been studying the Diomede Islands and the vicinity for quite some time. What you can find over internet and Google Maps, and it was quite amazing actually to see the islands approaching, in the distance. So that was it was quite an experience.
I was very nervous before the swim, and to do a recce before, just to test the temperatures and to see if all our homework and intel has been right in terms of what they should be, with the first throwing in of the thermometer revealing a 3.2 degrees Celsius temperature was quite a shock, and it took the wind out of my sails quite substantially.
Seeing that coming out, the initial one at 3.2 degrees, I literally got a cold shiver there, and I knew this was not going to be an easy one. I wouldn't say it out loud, but there was a half a split second of panic.
The currents are clearly visible on this flat water close to the island. It sweeps at 3.4 knots. A big concern for the swimmers. Underwater canyons, sea ice, and the interaction with the extreme weather cause these currents to be strong and unpredictable. The boats do a reconnaissance towards Big Diomede across the international date line, now in Russian waters. Big Diomede, sometimes called Ratmanov Island, has an entire Russian military base of approximately 100. Any breach of protocol can cause an international incident. 4 kilometers from Big to Little Diomede. The US government-funded school is where the South Africans finally prepare for their swim. The local recommendation is not to touch Russian soil. The message is clear from Marius.
We always wanted to go and touch at Russia, but when we saw the military guys there, it is a military base, you need to respect that. There's no point in us doing anything stupid, and just even getting in this water is going to be a challenge.
It's just a matter of getting into the water, going to swim, and that's really what I've got to do. That's what I came here for.
The primary goals of touching the island seem to have slipped away quite a lot. There is Russian activity on the island. We've seen people, from the halfway mark already, and we just think that if we swim towards the island, they're going to react immediately, and it'll just have to be a personal achievement.
A little bit of sun on our backs, nice clear day. Give it a shot.
Why the hell are we doing this? That's my only thought. We're so stupid. We could have been sitting back home. Now we're here. No, it's going to be a tough one. We got a bit of a shock with the temperature, some of the temperature readings. Current looks quite hectic. But yeah, we got a kind of a game plan. We saw some Russian spotters, so there's a bit of a political risk. But listen, it's if it wasn't hard, many more people would have been doing it. So we're going to give it horns.
We're ready. Lots of meetings. Too many meetings we should have discussed yesterday. We're ready to go now.
They discuss their plans in case of a walrus attack and rescue procedures. The Ingaliqmiat Eskimos look on with interest. The village houses about 120 people, mostly fishermen and ivory carvers.
You know that you've got to do the swim, so you're relaxed, you get ready, you put your mind at ease for everything you do, and I think that's the most important. You don't sort of, once you start getting excited about the swim and nervous about it, it creates a big problem. This way you only sort of just relax, chill, and you know that you've got to get in the water, do your best, and just get to the other side. Hey, Mujik.
We tried to minimize as much risk as possible. So leaving on the boat and going out, the decision to where into the Russian water we could jump in is quite unsettling. Once we cross the date line and you're in the Russian waters, you know, from that moment on you're focused, you're alert, you're awake, you're thinking about what ifs. And I thought from a calculated risk point of view we did quite well. We pushed the envelope. I would have preferred to go a little bit closer myself, but I was very comfortable with the decision that the team made at that point in time.
Once you get in the water, the first 5 minutes or so are really hard from a cold perspective.
If you've done cold water swimming, that first jump in is always quite tricky, and getting off those aluminium skiffs.
Jumping into the water is always incredibly hard without wetsuit. You know, it hits all your senses, it takes the wind out of your lungs, and panic is just a second away.
Cold water carries heat away from the body 25 times faster than air. The initial shock and gasp can be dangerous. Ryan Strumrud is only wearing a Speedo.
I think I perhaps overkilled it a bit with the kit, you know, but I mean, I got quite a scare with that temperature. But we got in the water. We start off at a pace.
Ryan's core temperature will drop within a few minutes. His cognitive functioning and judgment can become affected.
You just keep your head down and just keep putting one arm in front of the other for as long as you can.
All the swimmers need to be monitored very carefully.
As I said, we were never going to stop inside Russian water. We were making sure we were getting the hell out of there from the time we left. Mentally, I was going until we were stopped. I wasn't going to stop myself. Luckily for us, I could see Jean was having some trouble with his goggles because getting going again once you've stopped in this cold water is not so easy.
My pace was really good. I was worried that I would be a bit slower than the guys because being in wetsuit, you're a little more buoyant. And I sit a little deeper in the water, but I stayed up with them. And all was going well. I could feel myself deteriorating. I could feel the cold starting to creep into my core. My hands were hurting like crazy. They hurt the most. They were felt like big balloons.
Unprotected, most people lose dexterity after 5 minutes in water this cold. Disorientation is common.
We were also fighting, it became very apparent we were fighting the current in a big way. You know, we chose a course which probably was a little bit of an overzealous compensation for a very strong current. We didn't have to do it quite as much of a vector and put us a little bit on the back foot, because what you need psychologically, you need to see that end point coming closer. So every time you take a peek up, you want to see some great progress.
The medical team were keeping a close watch.
Yeah, so fortunately I saw Marius and Duncan on the sides of me. I saw they were also giving it horns, and also affected by the same current. And it's I guess that's where a whole team game comes to play. You know, you're in it together, and it's good having a team like this swimming with you. It helps with the confidence.
The Madswimmers crossed the international date line from Russian waters into American territory.
All was good until we had crossed over the date line, or we were literally sitting on the border, and the guys had planned a feed. In other words, they stopped to have their gels and liquid intake before they carry on. Being in wetsuits, they had the luxury of doing that. I didn't. I had to keep moving, but just that little bit of break of rhythm, a few minutes that I had to swim without a support crew next to me, messed with my mind a bit, and it started to make me nervous. And then it's a downward spiral.
Ryan's vast cold water experience makes him decide to stop after 50 minutes.
For me to swim 50 minutes, just short of an hour, in probably an average of 5.5–6 degree water, it's an amazing achievement for me. It's you really, until you do it, you don't realize how deep you got to dig. You don't realize the things you learn just about yourself and your own abilities in those moments. I take away so much from that swim. It's the first time that I've actually made the decision myself to pull out of a swim.
I missed my feed breaks. I felt that if I stopped to feed that I would possibly cramp. So I literally just put my head down and swam as hard as I could the whole way.
The Little Diomede looks much closer than it actually is.
The actual hard bit was the second half. Trying to get to that island, there was this side offshore current just really pushing us, and seeing this island but just not getting closer and closer.
Towards the end, when we stopped, we had a boat that I hadn't recognized before, and Jean, myself and Milton stopped to ask, what do we aim for now in terms of the currents? And with hindsight, which is a perfect science, I think we got it slightly wrong. We aimed for the white rock. After about 10 minutes or so, we realized that the white rock we weren't going to get to, so we then aimed to had a cave slightly left, and then the reality of the strength of that current that was coming off that little hill kicked in, and myself, Milton and Jean got split up. Literally must have been 100 meters from the end, and we realized then that to actually get my hands onto those rocks was going to be a bit tougher than I thought.
The last part of the swim was very difficult. I could see the rocks and I just couldn't get there. I must have tried 3 or 4 times to sort of just get to the rocks.
I must say, for a few seconds, it actually went through my mind that, here I am at stage 6 of this challenge of mine, and there's a strong possibility that this current's going to sweep me past this island. And I thought, that's going to be an embarrassment.
Jean Craven completes the first ever series of swims across the world, connecting 7 continents. What an achievement! The first ever South African team to swim between the Diomede Islands in the grueling Bering Strait.
That's it. That was fun, man. 6 continental crossings. Toast.
Congratulations.
Thank you, man.
Awesome. That was awesome.
Thank you for the support.
A little further down the island shoreline, Marius Delaray rests up after the exhausting fight against the current. The rest of the wetsuit team are very spread out.
Listen, just a fantastic achievement. Really 6 months in the planning. 10 or 15 meters from the rock, I thought it was all going to go to waste. I tried 3 times to get in and only got there on the 3rd time when the guys in the boat said to me, just go straight. I thought maybe I was trying to get in somewhere where the other guys couldn't, but listen, that's the ocean. It was awesome. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
No walrus encounters, just a chafing wetsuit. While Ryan Stremrud is recovering at the basic medical facility on Little Diomede, the rest of the team reflect on their Russia to United States crossing. The mad swimmers have connected 7 continents in 6 stages of extreme swimming. It has taken 6 long years. The South African flag flies proud when the team arrive at the harbour of the village of Ignaluk on the Little Diomede Island. Naked swimmer Ryan has recovered. He joins the team, proud to have been part of this historic achievement.
So swimming from Russia to America is unbelievable.
One specific day we just had to, everything had to just fall in place, and that was mentally challenging.
I think sitting on your deathbed, these will be those type of memories that you will treasure.
Mix and associate yourself with the right kind of people. So many things are achievable.
If you apply your mind to something and you really believe you can do it, you can.
be able to do this type of swim is the most phenomenal thing. To be able to do it for a charity is even better.
You have been watching the Continent to Continent Mad Swimmer Challenge.